and just the deepness, the meaning of those words. And it's entirely fitting and proper and really a terrific place for us to have this press conference here in this rally, in this place where so many veterans gather. And I want to thank each and every one of you who have served. If you're a family member of someone who served, thank you. And we must pause and remember and recognize the fallen and those whom they left behind, our Gold Star families. So to all who have served, thank you from one American to another. Now, I learned not only from my father, but just in my life experience and just the privilege of being an American and the Constitution that the Admiral referred to that really binds us together as a country, that the number one duty of the federal government is what? Is to defend the American people. Article 2, Section 2 makes it clear that there is a president who is uniquely assigned a most sobering and heavy responsibility, and that's as the Commander-in-Chief of all armed forces of the United States of America. There's only one president. And as I objectively assess where we are and where we're going with our current president, President Obama, let's set aside, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for intentions or motive or whatever, but his wisdom, I question and reject his wisdom and his policy. It's hurting our country. And if we look at where we stand with respect to the defense cuts that are looming on the horizon, let's take a look at that. There are two critical challenges facing our country: job creation, and of course, as I mentioned, the essential role of the federal government in protecting the American people. Here we have the intersection of both. And we in the House, imperfect as we are, but in the House we have put forth not one but two measures that would avert that fancy term that only Washington could come up with of sequestration. I had the privilege of amending the National Defense Authorization Act and to seeing that pass on the House floor. Thank you. And then not long after that, the House passed a full measure that would completely eliminate the need for sequestration to go into effect. Now, I look over here, and in clear contrast, what has the President given us? Platitudes and kind of generalizations, nothing specific. And leadership, in my view, is of having the wisdom to put forward a good plan and then having the courage to bring it forward and say, this is what I stand for. And let folks really have an opportunity to make an informed decision. And our President has not given us that. It's just generalizations. And, you know, when I see what we have as an alternative in Governor Romney, I don't know him all that well. I've had the privilege to meet him several times, but as I just meet him and his family and I see what he stands for and I know what he do for our local economy, let me give you a great example. We actually have passed an amendment, came through our office. I'm not trying to beat the drum of our own office, but look, it feels good to be able to do something for the district. We passed an amendment that would actually allow the whole development of offshore energy here off the coast of Virginia. 18,000 jobs. We need to diversify our economy. So many of these jobs would go to our veterans. 2 U.S. senators from Virginia, both Democrats, support it. Okay? Bipartisan. There's one man standing between 18,000 jobs here in Hampton Roads. That's President Barack Obama. That's true. And through Secretary Salazar. And I know that as soon as he gets into office, this is the kind of practical thing that we can do as Americans to rise up, get our economy going again, and give great opportunities for our veterans and raise the tax revenues that, frankly, we need for better roads and for better schools. We can do that by growing our economy. So I'm just delighted that you're here with us today, and I encourage you that whatever you've done for the Romney campaign, do a bit more. My wife Terry and I we're all in. I mean, this is, to use to borrow from my friends in the Navy, this is an all hands on deck moment. Yeah. And I'll finish with this because I want to hear what our good Lieutenant Governor had to say. But I tell you this, I shared with this good group a little while ago. I told my wife Terry this morning, I went out the door early like we typically do. She said, "What are you?" And I said, "I'm meeting with about 8 or 10 businessmen. They're all kind of semi-retired, kind of at that stage of life. They have a lot of free time." I said, "What are you going to tell them?" "I'm going to tell them," I say, "you need to get off the golf course and go to work and fight for your country."
Yeah.
I mean that. Now look, for those who run a golf course, I'm not saying to the exclusion of that, okay? I don't golf, but many do. But the point is that this truly is an all-hands-on-deck moment. This is a defining moment. That's not a political talking point. This is reality. Because principally our fiscal trajectory. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. And it is my joy, really, and a privilege to introduce a good friend and a fine principled leader within our Commonwealth, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Bill Bolling. Governor Bolling.
Thank you all so much, and good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be back in Norfolk. Thank you all for coming out here in the middle of the afternoon to be a part of our statewide rollout today of the Veterans for Romney leadership team. We appreciate you being here and being a part of this important event. Admiral, great job. I felt like taking the hill after I heard that. I mean, I could see how you could get them fired up before battle, but thank you for your willingness to step up and serve. And Pete, also thank you for your willingness to step up and serve in a leadership role as a part of the Veterans for Romney Coalition. And you have a great congressman in Scott Ridgell. I hope you know that. He is a fine man, a good, successful businessman. He understands how things are supposed to work. And goodness knows if there's one trait we need more of in government today is that government operated more like a business, more like the private sector as opposed to the government, we'd be able to get a whole lot more done. And it's good to have people like Scott Ridgell up there fighting for those values. And I can tell you he loves this district and he understands the importance of the military to Hampton Roads and to Virginia and to Americans. Scott, it's good to be here with you today. I want to make one more introduction and then just make a few comments. I'm delighted my wife, Jean Ann, is actually with me today. She's traveling with us today, and I want you to make her feel at home if you would. She's back there. I like to have Jean Ann traveling with me. She has two gifts that anyone who does what I do or what Scott does needs. Number one, she has the ability to lift me up, because sometimes, you know, in this business you have bad days and you get down and you need somebody to lift you up, and she has the ability to lift me up. And the other great gift that she has is the ability to knock me right back down, because sometimes, you know, you get a little too full of yourself, and she reminds me, "Yeah, buddy, you still got to take out the garbage." I mean, that's the way that it, but it's great to have her traveling with us today. Look, this is an exciting day, because today's the day that we roll out statewide our Veterans for Mitt Romney leadership team. I can tell you men and women who have served and are serving in the military are very important to me and my family. My dad, Troy Bolling, was a member of the United States Navy. He served on a fuel oil transport ship in the Pacific Ocean during World War II. And the Pacific Ocean was a dangerous place to be, but especially if you were on a fuel oil transport ship. He served on a ship that got hit by 2 Japanese torpedoes that didn't explode. He was a very fortunate guy. And my wife's dad, Guy Kincaid, was a very proud United States Marine. Of course, that's double speak, because every Marine is very proud. He was a very proud United States Marine. He served in what at the time was called the Korean conflict. And I used to love listening to Guy talk about stories from Korea. And his favorite line that I never forgot, he said, "The only people that called it a conflict were the people that weren't there." He said, "If you were there, you knew it was a war, just like every other war that our country's ever fought." But I always have given thanks, you know, for people like Troy Bolling and Guy Kincaid and each of you who are willing at, you know, various, to use that line, defining moments in our country's history to answer freedom's call and to step into the breach and put their lives on the lines to defend freedom and to defend America. You know, I believe that we have the privilege of living in the greatest country the world has ever known here in the United States of America. But this didn't become the greatest country the world's ever known by accident. It became the greatest country the world's ever known because there were a lot of great men and women before us, patriots all, who put it all on the line to stand up for the principles and for the values that we believe in. So I salute you, for your service and for the part and for the role that you've played. And I can tell you that that's also very important to Governor Romney. I got to know Mitt Romney about 5 years ago. I had a very unique experience in my first term as Lieutenant Governor when the 2008 elections came around. Back in about 2006 and 2007, I actually started having these presidential candidates calling me, asking for my support. That had never happened to me before. And I talked to a lot of them and met with a lot of them. And Mitt Romney called me and told me he'd like to meet with me and talk about his campaign for president. And I still remember we met for the first time actually in Virginia Beach in the spring of 2007. And I got to know this man. And over the course of the next several months, I got to know him better, and I got to know him and his family more. And I became absolutely convinced 5 years ago that Mitt Romney was the right guy to lead our country into the future. I was honored to chair his campaign for president in Virginia in 2008. And then when he decided to run again, he asked me if I'd chair his campaign in Virginia again in 2012, and I didn't hesitate. In 2009, Governor Romney spent a lot of time here in Virginia, frankly, campaigning with Governor McDonnell and me when we were running for governor and lieutenant governor. I'll never forget, we had done an early morning event in Newport News, and we were in the car heading to a luncheon event in Virginia Beach, and we came through the tunnel, and as we came around the bend right before we started going into the tunnel, we looked off to the right and we saw the Norfolk Naval Base there. And Governor Romney, for the next 30 minutes between there and Virginia Beach, just talked about how important the military was and the men and women who serve in uniform. I can tell you this without hesitation. Mitt Romney loves our country, but he also knows that this country is what it is today because of the brave men and women who don the uniform of the United States military. And he is absolutely committed as president to doing two things that I think are critically important. Number one, is making sure that we honor the men and women who serve in the military, making certain that they have the salary, they have the benefits, they have the housing accommodations, the health care that they need and deserve as they serve our country. But also then making certain that we honor veterans, those who have ended their active duty military service and come back home to the private sector, making certain that they can find a job when they get here. The governor has talked with me a lot about some of the things we're doing in Virginia, our Jobs for Virginia veterans programs, and some of the coalitions we've built with partners like Dominion and Capital One to help find jobs for vets when they leave active duty military service, and how we can expand those types of programs, use them as a blueprint, expand them nationwide. But also the need to make sure that our veterans are treated with dignity, that they have the health care they need, that they have access on a timely basis to the benefits that they deserve. It is an absolute insult to our nation that we should see the high levels of suicide rates among veterans, of homelessness among veterans coming back. The Admiral used the quote, and I just want to share this quote with you. This is the quote that George Washington made. This is what he said, and I want you to think, America's first general, and I want you to think about this quote in the context of what we're talking about today. This was the full quote. General Washington said, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation." Now, that was a quote that was made well over 200 years ago, but it is as applicable today as it was 200 years ago. And I will assure you, and veterans all across our state, over 800,000 strong, that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan are fully committed as America's comeback team to making certain that as we come back, that we don't just come back economically, but that at the forefront of that effort is an appreciation for the men and women who serve and have served in the United States military. Now, there's another thing that Governor Romney is very committed to doing, and that's making sure that our military might in the United States of America remains strong. We believe in the concept of peace by strength. And we believe that if anybody ever, showed us how that worked, it was Ronald Reagan.